Zaldrizes buzdaris kosdau.
We've been getting some crazy rumors for House of the Dragon Season 2, the filming process. It's supposedly going to be wrapping up this month, not just for the on-location shoots, but also for everything that's being filmed entirety for Season 2 House of the Dragon. It's really exciting news. That definitely means that a trailer is on our horizon. Probably will be coming out within the next, safe to say, 6 months, right? But in this video, I want to go over some of my notes. When I say notes, I mean things like leaks and rumors that were sent to me through the DMs over this massive process that was the filming of Season 2. Remember, it started all the way back in March, and it's here, several weeks left in September, and they still haven't finished filming yet, right? So I want to try to figure out some of the truth to some of these latest rumors that have been coming out, like an episode title, and then also Rhaenyra supposedly sneaking into King's Landing. Let's try to suss that out and figure out what's actually happening. Please, if you enjoy my content, if you're a fan of my videos here in YouTube and they allow you a portal and escape into your favorite world, that being A Song of Ice and Fire, please do me a massive favor and subscribe. Please subscribe to me here on YouTube. That's the #1 best thing you could ever do for me or anybody you're a fan of that makes content that you enjoy. Also, slap a like on this video. Like goal's gonna be 420. Get it? You like my deep, sexy voice? Okay, so the first rumor that I want to address, this came out recently, and it was that the episode 1 title for Season 2 House of the Dragon is going to be called A Son for a Son. Now, that could be the case. That would be a good title. A Son for a Son comes from one of the first tragic events that kicks off the start of the war. So, like, what happens with Lucerys and Aemon is definitely the start of the Dance of Dragons. But technically, the Blacks could have responded separately, and it may have prolonged the initial events of the war, like, really kicking off, right? So, what I'm talking about is after Lucerys is killed, Rhaenyra's on Dragonstone and Daemon's in Harrenhal. Daemon sends her a note that says, "A son for a son." Right? Lucerys will be avenged, basically, is what he's saying when he sends her a note that says "a son for a son." So, fan accounts on Twitter took that line from Fire and Blood, right, and said this is going to be the confirmed title for episode 1. There was a really popular online site that reported that as well, but there's no source for those rumors aside from them just appearing one day. People saying, hey, the titles for, or the title for episode 1, Season 2 House of the Dragon is going to be A Son for a Son, and it does fit. It fits perfectly because pretty sure what's going to happen in episode 2 is Blood and Cheese, and what they're going to do in episode 1 is set up Blood and Cheese. And Blood and Cheese is an event where Daemon hires a former Gold Cloak member named Blood and a rat catcher named Cheese via Massaria to go and kill Jaehaerys, who is Aegon's heir. Now, Lucerys is not Rhaenyra's heir, just Jaehaerys is, but the fact that her son was taken from her when he was just an envoy makes the Blacks do what they do, makes Daemon do what he does, right? So when that happens, there's really no turning back. Like, there's no turning back when Lucerys is killed because he's just an envoy, but that Blood and Cheese scene is monumentous in gaslighting the flame or bomb explosion that is the Dance of the Dragons. It definitely sets it into full swing. Like, there's no holding back from either side once this happens. So along those same lines of leaks, I've actually been sent some information that said that they've confirmed some titles for certain episodes. So A Son for a Son, maybe one of them. There's for sure, this person, according to this person anyway, this person says for sure episode 2 is going to be called Blood and Cheese or some sort of variation of it. One of the other variations for Blood and Cheese is the Rat and the Knight. Like the rat being the rat catcher, the knight being the former Gold Cloak, Blood, but technically Blood may not actually be a knight because he's a former Gold Cloak member. Gold Cloak members are guards of the city, they're the City Watch, but that doesn't necessarily mean they were knighted. Anyway, some of the other titles include Rook's Rest. Now, these aren't in any particular order. It's not like I'm listing episode 1 through 8. I'm just listing the titles that were floating around that may be the actual episode titles, right? So one of them is Rook's Rest, another one's Prince Regent. For those who aren't aware, Prince Regent probably refers to after the Battle of Rook's Rest, when Aegon is completely taken out for a good chunk of the time that the dance is actually happening, because the wounds and the burns that he suffers makes him incapable to rule. So at that time, Aemon takes over because remember Jaehaerys, the king's heir, is dead, right? So his younger brother Aemon, One Eye, takes over and he becomes Prince Regent. So that's what that title could be referring to when Aemon becomes Prince Regent. Another title is Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. That's pretty much self-explanatory. That could be when Rhaenyra takes the Iron Throne. Another one is the Rat and the Knight, like I mentioned before. One could be the Pact of Ice and Fire. And then also the Duel. The Duel is interesting because that could refer to the Cargill brothers' duel. And then the last couple titles are Three Heads and then also the Dragon. So let me know what you think about those down below in the comment section. They are, again, remember, Son for Son was the initial rumor that came out that was supposedly going to be confirmed episode title for episode 1. Some of my rumors said that some of the episode titles are Rook's Rest, Prince Regent, Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, The Rat and the Knight, The Pact of Ice and Fire, The Duel, and lastly, Three Heads and the Dragon. Okay, so another rumor, and this is coming from the same source as the last rumor. Person mentions that Rhaenyra will sneak into King's Landing in episode 7, right? Which is the penultimate episode of season 2 because there's only 8 episodes. In episode 9 of every single Game of Thrones season, aside from the last couple ones where they only had 6 and 7 episodes. Episode 9 is the big, like, insane episode, like the most insane events usually happen in that episode, right? So for episode 9, for House of the Dragon, remember, we saw Rhaenyra's throne being taken from her right after her father had died, right after she just made up with Alicent, the person who took her throne and put her son, Aegon, on the throne in place of Rhaenyra, right? So episode 7 is going to be the penultimate, like, craziest events of this season, most likely, right? So, the rumor was that Rhaenyra sneaks into King's Landing and gives wagons of food. Now, I've actually been sent rumors, and I made several videos on it, right? This was back in, I believe it was July. But I made several, like, season outline and plot outline videos where I mentioned different leaks and rumors that were being sent to me through the DMs over on Twitter. Speaking of which, please go follow me at Sir_Hunts, right? Also on Instagram at Sir_Hunts_reviews. Please go follow me on social media. It just really helps my presence here on YouTube, believe it or not. I know those are different platforms. So in those leaks, I was told that Rhaenyra is going to not sneak in herself, right, but send wagons of food in, and the events of that become prominent when Jaehaerys is being marched through the streets of King's Landing, and it's his funeral procession. Alicent tries to take the moment, tries to captivate on the moment, because the citizens are kind of like staring and looking at her like, why is this prince dead? Why is he being marched through the streets, right? And then also you have Meleys's head being marched through the streets. The rumors were supposedly Alicent capitalizes on this and mentions, right, that the Greens are innocent of this. Basically, that Rhaenyra and everybody that's associated with her is the reason why this innocent prince is dead, right? And then also she tries to say, remember, we had Meleys's head marched through the streets. We're the one who's trying to save the small folk. But, like, since Rhaenyra, and this is all just rumors, right? Take it with a grain of salt. Everything's a load of horse crap until it's confirmed to air on our screens, right, when we're watching it, right? Everything except for the stuff that has literally images and videos that go along with it, right, that leaked. But apparently this person was mentioning that when Alicent tries to do this, tries to turn the citizens of King's Landing fully onto their side, they aren't hearing it. They aren't having it because Rhaenyra has been feeding them with wagons that she's sneaking in. And the reason why she's doing this is because King's Landing is at war, right? Rhaenyra herself has annexed the Gullet, and all of the gates, all the 7 gates that allow food and trade and commerce to come into King's Landing, they're all locked up because they're all being laid siege to because there's a war happening, right? So Rhaenyra sneaking in the food supposedly is what makes the citizens on her side. As far as her sneaking in episode 7 and bringing the food herself, I don't know. I feel like the rumors that I was sent make a lot more sense, but you all let me know what you think down below in the comment section. So, just to sort of streamline it, right? In particular, this person mentions that Rhaenyra sneaks into King's Landing with Daemon, and that's after she goes to Shipbreaker Bay, and that's something that's confirmed to happen. Like, as soon as episode 1 starts, when we see Rhaenyra's reaction to Lucerys dying, she's going to fly to Shipbreaker Bay to look for the remains of her son, or just her son in general. Supposedly, and I've mentioned this before, recently in several videos, but this actor was hired to play a fisherman who Rhaenyra talks to and tells her that her son's torn and tattered cloak was found, and also pieces of his dragon, right? So this is where she starts to mourn, and then her and Daemon devise the plan to sneak into King's Landing and figure out what the small folk think of, her crown being stolen and everyone like usurping her. Basically, when they do this, they go into this bar or tavern called the Cock-Inn Tavern. We've actually seen images of that tavern. I'm showing you right now. These were some of the first leaks that came out for the filming process of season 2, right? So supposedly her and Daemon go and sneak into this tavern, right? It's very reminiscent of when her and Daemon snuck in, or Rhaenyra snuck out of her room and went and partied on the Street of Silk with Daemon in season 1, right? So they're both wearing hoodies, they're both sneaking around. So they're in this tavern, and in the tavern, Rhaenyra listens to the people talking, and she finds out that they didn't usurp her, they didn't help Aegon, they didn't willingly accept him. They were forced into the dragon pit, right? The bells went off, and they were corralled into the dragon pit by the gold cloaks, and then they were forced to witness what happened. They didn't necessarily support King Aegon. So when Rhaenyra hears this is when she decides that she will sort of capitalize on it, right? Supposedly, she explains how anyone loyal to Aegon is a usurper, and that anyone loyal to her will be rewarded tremendously. Like, basically, they say the promise of not losing their life is important, but they tell her that they're being starved because she's literally causing them to no longer get food. So this is when Rhaenyra promises to bring in wagons of food, and this happens in episode 1. So at the end of the episode, we see wagons being snuck in through the flea bottom and Street of Silk that's being secretly passed out to the small folks of King's Landing because, like we mentioned before, they're being starved. So in my opinion, that actually makes a lot more sense, because if Alicent supposedly gives a speech and the citizens of King's Landing turn against her, it makes sense that the reason why they would turn against Alicent and King Aegon is because Rhaenyra has been secretly helping them out and feeding them this whole time by bringing in food to the city. Even though she's annexed the Gullet and laid siege to it, she's still making amends. So that way, when she takes King's Landing in episode 8 of season 2, the people love her, and it seems like the war is going to turn around and be in her favor. And then the events of, well, the Battle of the Gullet happen, right? Rhaenyra then starts to turn on her closest advisor, like Corlys the Sea Snake, because of some treachery that she serves that's served up to her from someone who is not the Sea Snake, and that ends up forcing Corlys to go to the other side. This is where Rhaenyra really starts to fall. Will be like in season 3, like she's cut by the Iron Throne. People are spurned by her because she starts heavily taxing them, and it'll be really cool to show, in my opinion. And sorry, I didn't explain it well. What I'm doing is adding on to why I think the rumors that I were sent were legitimate, because there should be a good chunk of this season that shows you that the citizens of King's Landing are actually behind Rhaenyra, right? Because when she starts to rule, the policies that take effect because of her ruling makes the people hate her, and it would be so cool to watch that arc on screen. People keep saying the show's one-sided, and they keep making the greens clearly the bad guys and the blacks clearly the good guys. Well, I am I've read this story so many times, I know that's not the case. The whole message that George tries to get across is that no one is completely evil and no one is completely innocent or good in his story. They're all a mix of the two of them, because that's what makes the most interesting story to tell. The human condition in conflict with itself. What's good, what's right, what's bad, what's wrong. And every time I see a green stand going nuts online saying they're pooping all over the greens and they're making the blacks the good guys, I keep telling myself, just wait. I will keep wanting to tell them, just wait. You'll see what they're going to do with Rhaenyra and how the citizens love her at first, but then eventually hate her. And she's actually one of the most hated rulers in all of the history of the Targaryen kings. I know it sounds like I'm excited to see Rhaenyra's downfall, but that's not the case. I'm excited to see a good story. Anyway, it's a good point to wrap this video up. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please, slap a like on this video. Like it was going to be 420. And then also, if you could please, subscribe to me here on YouTube. My voice gets high-pitched, so that way you know I'm sincere. Anyway, big shout out to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/reviews, specifically the members of my Dragonite tier. They are the executive producers of these videos. They are Tyler Schnabel, the North Must Remember, Destiny Mix Queen, Phillips 420, my girl Breanne Johnson, and Pebbles 83. Now, thank you all so much for watching. Along that, and